ano
Yan,
magre-read?
okay na. Okay na. Okay. Good day, everyone. And we are here, the group, to discuss all about written work assessment. And but before we provide all the examples, type of assessment, and as well the importance of written work assessment or outputs in arts, we will first provide you the useful information about our topic, which is the written work or the written output. Next pa. Yeah. So to evaluate students' learning in a particular part in each quarter, those summative assessments shall continue in the form of written works and performance tasks. So according to DepEd Order 31 series of 2020, written works shall be administered to assess essential knowledge and understandings. It can be in the form of quizzes and long or unit tests. The items should be distributed across the cognitive process dimensions, and this is a combination of select response and constructed response formats. So, written works or written outputs ensure that the skills and concepts that the students have learned throughout the discussions will be able to express and demonstrate through written forms. And aside from quizzes, it may include essays, journals, reflections, and other written outputs. And I know that you are already familiar. Next slide po. I know that you are already familiar with the revised Bloom's taxonomy. So this is the revised Bloom's taxonomy, and I also know that you are familiar. I also know that you know that we have to consider it in doing our objective. And the same way in making our planning for written work assessment, we have to consider the cognitive process dimensions. And because the reason why we have to consider is because this will be our guide to provide appropriate kind of written work assessment that suits in the interest, learning profiles, and of course in the learning objective. And the second one, written work, it can be a selected response or constructed response. So when we say selected response, it is composed of questions to which there is typically one best answer. While in constructed response, the learners have to construct the answers. Those the example of selected response are the multiple choice, true or false, matching types, and the likes. While constructed response, the examples are those essays and reflections. So we have to remember that when we say selected response, it is an objective type of test, and when we say constructed, is subjective type of test. So um, we will not be expecting that the students will come up with the same answers. And are we clear with the written works or written outputs?
Yes po.
Okay. Since we are clear with that, to provide the different examples of written work out or written outputs, here is Miss Carlene, our second reporter.
Okay, for my part, I'll discuss the examples of different written outputs in arts that we can give to our learners. The reference is according to DepEd Order 031, series of 2020. First one, example is the essays, which define as the extended pieces of writing designed to either tell a story, present information, or give an opinion on a particular topic or issue. They present their writer's own ideas. We can use essays to help our learners to demonstrate understanding of the learning area, develop their ability to compose text, develop their higher thinking skills such as analyzing, evaluating, and creating, and develop their creativity. Next, journals. It encourages learners to write extensively. Through journals, we can help our learners to express their thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Experiment with new writing styles, reflect on their learning, and analyze relationship with others and the environment. Another is the reaction or what we call the reflection paper, which help the learners to make connection between what is taught and need to do in practice. Through reflection paper or reaction paper, we can encourage creativity among learners, develop their ability to think critically. Also, it develop their higher thinking skills such as analyzing, evaluating, and creating, just like in the essays. Lastly, the research paper, wherein research paper, it includes a description of learners' art, a thoughtful presentation on one questions they wish to investigate. The learners research on their questions may focus on themes of the art, sources of the inspiration, techniques, tools, or methods. Their research also includes comparisons of the similarities and differences with one or two other artists or designers that they choose. In a sense, this art research paper becomes the story of a process of discovering some new ways or the innovative ways that they are able to think and write about one work of art. Therefore, these examples of different written outputs in arts uh, are meant to develop our students or learners to move their wisdom of thinking, making, and writing. Are we clear with the examples of different written outputs in arts?
Yes po.
Yes. So next one is the products of written outputs in arts according again to DepEd Order 031 series of 2021. So these are the products, and I know that you are all familiar with these activities since I know that we already experienced it in our elementary days. And these activities name as the first one, art exhibit, second, art project, third, portfolio, and last one is art criticism and appreciation. Okay, for the third part that will be discussed by Miss Florence Paligpi.
Different types of assessment you can use in assessing the written outputs of students in the arts. Next. First is rubrics. A scoring tool used to evaluate students' written work based on a set of criteria. Rubrics typically include a description of what each level of performance looks like and can provide students with clear feedback on what they need to do to improve. Using rubrics in assessing written outputs in the arts can provide several benefits. It can create a consistent and objective way of evaluating students' work and can provide constructive feedback to students on areas where they can improve. Additionally, rubrics can help teachers identify students' strengths and weaknesses and help students understand the specific areas they need to focus on to improve their work. Next. Next is portfolios. A collection of a student's written work over time that demonstrates their progress and growth in different areas of the arts. Portfolios can be a valuable tool to assess the written outputs of students in the arts. By collecting a range of written outputs over time, portfolios can showcase the development and growth of a student's work and provide evidence of their learning and progress. Using portfolios in assessing written outputs in the arts can provide several benefits. Firstly, it can provide a comprehensive view of a student's work and can highlight their strengths and areas for improvement. Secondly, portfolios can provide an opportunity for students to reflect on their work and to see how their skills have developed over time. And finally, portfolios can provide evidence of a student's learning and progress, which can be useful for future evaluations. Next. Next is performance-based assessment. Assessments that require students to create or perform a piece of art and provide a written reflection on their process and product. So performance-based assessment can help students develop practical skills and can be used to assess their ability to apply what they have learned in a real-world context. Using performance-based assessment in assessing outputs in the arts can provide several benefits. Firstly, it can provide a more authentic and engaging way for students to demonstrate their skills and knowledge. Secondly, performance-based assessment can provide an opportunity for students to receive immediate feedback from teachers or peers, which can be useful for improving their work. Finally, performance-based assessment can provide a more comprehensive view of a student's abilities and skills, which can be also used for future evaluations. Next. Next is peer assessment, a process in which students evaluate their classmates' written work based on a set of criteria. Peer assessment can promote collaboration and provide students with a different perspective on their own work. So, using peer assessment in assessing written outputs in the art can provide several benefits. Firstly, it can provide students with an opportunity to develop their critical thinking and evaluation skills as they learn to evaluate the work of others. Secondly, peer assessments can provide an additional source of feedback for students, which can be useful for improving their work. Finally, peer assessment can promote a collaboration and supportive learning environment as students work together to evaluate and improve their work. Next. Next is self-assessment, a process in which students evaluate their own written work based on a set of criteria. This type of assessment can help students develop metacognitive skills and take ownership of their learning. Self-assessment can be a valuable tool to assess the written outputs of students in the arts. It involves students evaluating their own work based on a specific criteria, frequently using a rubric or checklist. Using assessment in assessing written outputs in the arts can provide several benefits. First, it can provide students with an opportunity to reflect on their own learning and progress and to identify areas for improvement. Secondly, self-assessment can promote a sense of ownership and responsibility for their own learning, as students take an active role in evaluating their work. Finally, self-assessment can provide an additional of feedback for teachers as they can use students' self-evaluation to inform their own evaluation and provide targeted feedback. Next po. Last is writing prompts. A set of questions or prompts that students can respond to in writing to demonstrate their understanding of different art forms. Writing prompts can help students develop critical thinking skills and can be used to assess their understanding of key concepts. A writing prompt is a specific topic, question, or statement that prompts students to write about a particular subject. In the context of art education, writing prompts can be used to assess a student's understanding of the subject matter, their creativity, and their writing skills. Are we clear with different types of assessment that you can use in assessing the written outputs of students in the arts?
Yes po.
Okay po. The next reporter is Miss May Hernandez.
So let's proceed to the importance of assessment and written outputs. Assessment plays a crucial role in evaluating written, out, written outputs for many reasons. There are measuring understanding and mastery, providing feedback, encouraging learning and engagement, promoting critical thinking and communication skills, monitoring progress and identifying areas of improvement, and lastly, validating learning outcomes. First, let's proceed to measuring understanding and mastery. Assessment provide a means to gauge a student's understanding and mastery of the subject matter. Through written outputs such as essays, research, research papers, reflections, students demonstrate their understanding of the subject and their ability to apply critical thinking, analysis, and synthesis skills. Assessment help students to determine the level of knowledge and competence of the student has acquired. Next slide po. Providing feedback. Assessment offer an opportunity for teachers to provide constructive, constructive feedback to the students. Through comments and suggestions on written outputs, teachers can highlight strength and areas for improvement. This feedback enables students to learn from their mistakes, refine their writing skills, and deepen their understanding of the subject matter. And it also helps students to identify areas where they can excel and encourages them to continue honing their strength. Next slide po. Encouraging learning and engagement. Assessment can motivate students to engage actively in the learning process. When students know that their writing, their written outputs will be assessed, they are more likely to invest time and effort into their work. This engagement promotes a deeper level of learning as students deal into the subject, conduct research, and strive to present their ideas effectively. Assessment can foster a sense of accountability and responsibility for one's learning. Next slide po. Promoting critical thinking and communication skills. Written assessment requires students to articulate their thoughts, analyze information, and communicate ideas effectively. They encourage students to think critically, organize their arguments coherently, and provide evidence to support their claims. Assessment provide a platform for students to develop and refine their writing skills, which are essential for academic success and professional endeavors. Next slide po. Monitoring progress and identifying areas of improvement. Assessment help track students' progress over time. By evaluating written outputs at regular intervals, instructors can identify patterns, strengths, and areas where the students may be struggling. This information allows teachers to adapt their teaching methods, provide additional support or resources, and tailor instruction to address specific needs. It also helps students recognize their own progress and areas where they can focus on improvement. And lastly, next slide po. Validating learning outcomes. Assessments serve as a means to validating learning outcomes and ensure that educational goals are being met. By assessing written outputs against predefined criteria or rubrics, teacher can define whether students have achieved the desired learning outcomes. This information is valuable for curriculum planning, program evaluation, and accreditation purposes. And in summary, assessment of written outputs is vital in education as it measures understanding, provides feedback, encourages learning and engagement, promote critical thinking and communication skills, monitoring progress and validating learning outcomes. It serves as a valuable tool for both students and teachers in pursuit of academic excellence and growth. And that's all. Thank you.